is reality. Only what I allow you to believe.
So Raven-focused Druid builds have surprisingly become some of the strongest builds in Season 10 of Diablo 4, allowing you to do ridiculously high pit runs and just making all other content in the game completely face roll. But in this video, I want to go over a more of a speed farming version of a Raven's Druid build that will not only keep all of the endgame incredibly easy where you can basically one-shot everything, but will still allow you to do really high pit runs. And in fact, if you're just trying to farm pit runs to level up your glyphs, you can do level 100 pit runs in a minute with this build. And this is going to be the most endgame version of this build, so we are using 3 Mythics and 2 Chaos Uniques. For our Mythics, we have Era Perdition. This just gives you massively increased damage. For speed farming, you also get a really nice movement speed increase on this. Your chest, we're using Shroud of False Death, which +1 to all passives is crazy. Also will give us a bunch of move speed increases through different passives. The +2 to all stats allows you to get the secondary effect of all rare nodes to your Paragon boards. You also get the special effect of if you haven't dealt damage in the last 2 seconds, you gain stealth for increased movement speed, which will help you just in a lot of content to move even faster if you need that. And then for our 3rd mythic, we have Ring of Starless Skies, which just using our main skills reduces the cost of our main skills and increases their damage. So just a massive damage increase overall. And then for our Ubers, we're using Fists of Fate, and this just gives us a bunch of increases to damage. The special effect can give you massive burst damage windows. You also have the chance to make enemies vulnerable, which is where you get your vulnerable. My roll really sucks on this, so try to get a better roll on that specifically. Then finally, the main unique that makes this build work is Kilta Blackwing, which Ravens deal massively increased damage, and shapeshifting into a form or using a companion skill summons ravens to attack enemies. And anytime you summon a raven, so anytime we use our main core skill, it has a chance to be an unkindness instead, increasing the amount of ravens you summon. And you'll see on like boss fights just spamming out your abilities that there's just a row of like dozens and dozens and dozens of ravens just constantly flying through, which will end up being a lot of your damage, especially on single target fights. And that's going to take us to our skill tree. You're going to want to get Claw and 1 point upgrade to get lower into the tree. You do want Claw as your ability. We're actually going to use this. Then we're going down 1 point into Cyclone Armor, which is a non-physical damage reduction. This just being on your bar gives you that passive effect, even though you can't use it when in Grisly Rage. We're taking Debilitating Roar. Upgrade 1 fortifies you. Upgrade 2 increases our damage, which is why we're taking it. 5 points into Ravens, which is going to be our main ability. And also keep in mind, all of our companion skills are core skills in this build, meaning they don't have a cooldown and they have a spirit cost, and a bunch of things are going to scale them because they are core skills. That's a main part of the build. Then upgrade 1, when you hit enemies, they have increased crit chance, which really doesn't matter, but upgrade 2, you get more ravens and their passive damage is massively increased. And also because we're summoning hundreds of ravens essentially because of our unique, this will massively increase the damage as well. Then another change up to this build is Trample, and this is just as a movement skill, but one thing this really synergizes with is we are using the teleport rune on your gear, so we can get the sorcerer teleport as a replacement for our dodge depending on what other rune we have mixed with it. And the rune we have mixed with it is to travel a certain distance, and then you'll get the teleport. And trample is considered you traveling distance, so what you can do is you can say just trample and that will activate your teleport. It'll usually allow you to use teleport before the whole trample is over, and you can teleport in the middle of that trample as well. So this is just a really big increase to movement, especially when you're in areas easier to move or like long hallways. And then finally, we're going down to Grisly Rage, 5 points into this, because when you put 5 points into it, you get increased armor while it's active. Upgrade 1 makes us always unstoppable. Upgrade 2 fortifies us for every second we're in it. And then for our passives, 1 to Heart of the Wild to get 3 into Wild Impulses. Your core skills cost more but deal more damage. We have 1 into Ancestral Fortitude. Put as many points into this as you need for increased resistances if you need them. Then we have 2 points into Vigilance just because this was some of our final points, and 3 points into Backlash. Backlash is increased damage after using a defensive. Vigilance is damage reduction after using a defensive. And also Teleport is a defensive. So we'll be able to get these bonuses through our Teleport a majority of the time. 3 into Nature's Reach for increased damage to distance. enemies, even more if they're CC'd. 3 into Feral Aptitude, you deal increased damage while healthy, even more increased damage while above 100% move speed, which will be all the time. 3 into Call the Wild, your companion skills deal increased damage. Then 3 into Clarity, after casting a companion skill, your next core skill does increased damage and increased critical strike chance. Now, because our companion skill is also a core skill now, this is just absurdly strong. Then we're going down 3 points in Amending for the increase to max life. We also have 2 points in a Provocation now, so just every 10 seconds when we're in Werebear, which we're always in, our next non-defensive skill will overpower and deal increased damage. And this is just really nice because you're a speed farming build. You really don't want to have to stand there and like spam out abilities. So anytime this procs, that next Raven attack will just easily destroy everything. Then we have 1 point in Neurotoxin, 3 points into Envenom, so we deal increased critical strike damage against poison enemies. 3 into Defiance, nature skills do increased damage to elites. 3 into Natural Disaster, your storm skills deal increased damage to CC'd enemies. 3 into Resonance, or nature skills deal increased damage. Then 3 into Circle of Life, anytime we consume Spirit, we heal a bunch. Then we've put 3 points in a Defensive Posture, we gain damage reduction while fortified. This is just some increased defensives, and you'll notice we do have more points into the defensive things. That's just because when you're speed farming, we already have enough damage for anything you're trying to speed farm, but you really don't want to die, and you can kind of get hit really hard sometimes with random things. Then we have 3 points in the Heightened Senses, so when we go into Werebear, we gain damage reduction and Werewolf increased movement speed, and these will be locked in when we're in Grizzly Rage. Now we have taken points out of Quick Shift. You still have 1 point into it because of our Mythic chest piece, but the reason I took points out of this, even though it's a big damage increase, is because I don't want to take the time to build up Quick Shift, then go into Grizzly Rage, especially since I mainly made this build to farm pits faster. I didn't want to be wasting that like handful of seconds at the start of every pit. When we're doing 1 minute pit runs, that's actually a lot of wasted time on stacking up Quick Shift, which we really don't need. Then our capstone is One with Nature. Your companion skills give you more companions for increased damage. They deal more damage, and we gain the passive effect of all of the other companion skills. Then we have our Paragon boards. On the starter board, we're using Earth and Sky, a bonus to magic nodes. Then the secondary is Nature skills deal increased damage to CC'd or vulnerable enemies. The legendary is increased nature magic damage. The first board is going to be Untamed. Casting a companion skill gives you increased damage stacking up. The Glypherting is Wilds and increase to companion skill damage within range. And then the secondary is your passive damage of companion skills massively increased. This is going to be really good for Ravens again. Legendaries increase critical strike damage. Then the next board we're taking is Thundershock. Storm skills deal increased damage that's buffed up from your damage to distant and damage to close up to 60%. And because of one of our aspects, our Ravens do deal storm damage, which is why we can scale like this. Then the Glyph for taking is Hunter, a bonus to normal nodes within range. The secondary is increased damage to elites. The legendary is just increased damage. Then the next board is going to be Heightened Malice, increased damage while a poison enemy is near you. This stacks up even more. The Glyph for taking is Spirit, a increase to critical strike damage within range. The secondary is when you crit something, they take increased damage from you, stacking up. The legendaries increase critical strike damage. Then the final board is Sinister Tendrils. The only reason we care about this is because nature skills deal increased damage to poison enemies. The Glypherting is Keeper, a bonus to rare nodes within range. The secondary is you and your companions deal increased non-physical damage. The legendary is increased non-physical damage. For our spirit boons, we have Gift of the Stag, so we generate 10 spirit per second. Avian Wraith for increased critical strike damage. Swoop attacks for increased attack speed. Energize, which a lucky hit has a chance to fully restore your spirit. This procs a lot. And then Masochistic, which a lucky hit critical strikes with shapeshifting skills have a chance to just heal you for a ton to make sure we don't die. And then for our mercenaries, I'm just using Rahir to get the passive to give us 15% increased resistances. This just helps you get your resistances much more easily. Then going down to Bastion and Inspiration. So when Rahir damages things with his abilities, they take pretty heavily increased damage for a bit. Then the reinforcement we're using is Variana with Bloodthirst. When she uses this, you gain increased attack speed as well, which is why we're using it. Just put it on your Ravens. And then that brings us to our Chaos perks. Our unique is how this build actually works. Your companion skills are altered to also be core skills, and we get massive increased summon damage. This is how the build actually works. So Ravens is a core skill, so massive scaling, and we can just spam it. We have Crazy Brew, which just turns our potion into a massive buff. So when we use it, we gain 100% resource cost reduction, so we can spam our Ravens. Increase attack speed, which is massive because this is a different cap from other attack speeds. We gain increased movement speed as well for 5 seconds, but our potion has a 15-second cooldown. Overabundance, every 100 spirit you generate above your maximum gives you massively increased damage, stacked up 3 times. This will be procced a good amount of the time. Purge the Wicked, your core skills apply poisoning. When we hit poison enemies, our core skills are guaranteed crits, and it consumes 5 spirit to do that and deals increased damage, so just all guaranteed crits and more damage. And then that brings us to our gear. We already went over our mythics and our uniques. For our weapon, we're going to be using a two-hander, and on that, we have companion skills deal increased damage per companion you have. This is massive, and not only that, every passive raven we summon counts towards this. Every wolf we have, even through anything else we summon, gives more damage through that. So the damage scaling through just this aspect is ungodly. Then on our necklace, we have ravens now deal lightning damage, which is increased by some amount, and ravens active damage deals its full damage in half the time, and enemies inside it are stunned. Ravens deal lightning damage for more scaling. It just deals more damage in general. Our ravens active, so the main thing we're dealing damage with, or one of the main things, deals this damage faster, and everything inside it are stunned, which is massive. So if it's not a boss, everything is just always stunned essentially. Then one of the changes, because the other aspect we're using is the disabled one, we now changed to stampede, so we gain one additional companion for all of our companion skills, and our companion skills just deal increased damage. So you're not going to notice a massive difference. This is still a really big damage increase. Then our final legendary aspect is the duration of Grisly Rage is increased, and when we crit in Grisly Rage, it stacks up critical damage up to 100%. And then for our gems, in our gear, you're going to want increased willpower. In your jewelry, you want just skulls or diamond to just increase your resistances and your armor. Usually you'll need 1 diamond and 2 skulls, because also keep in mind, you get a 30% increase to armor while in Grisly Rage. So that's only outside of town or somewhere in combat. So keep that in mind. And then for our runes, in our movement rune, we are using travel 25 meters to replace your next evade with teleport, which is super strong. Massive movement bonus, makes speed farming significantly better. And also, as I mentioned, trample, which is another skill we're using now, is considered movement. So that will just give us even more teleports. And then for our other rune set, maintain at least 1 active summon for 5 seconds. This will give you offering up to 6 summons, and this will summon a spirit wolf companion to attack enemies for 8 seconds. This will just overflow all the time, and will constantly have like a dozen plus wolves at all times through this, which is just massive damage and massive scaling. And I'm pretty sure these wolves also apply vulnerable as well, so that will also help with that too. And for some of the more important roles on your weapon, you want chance for ravens to deal double damage. You will also get this roll on your unique kilt of the Blackwing, so that's pretty strong. On your necklace, what's really important is you want a movement roll and a movement tempering, so that's going to be really important. Just try to get other passives on the other rolls. And also on your necklace and on your gloves, you want the tempering of Raven's active size. I actually got all of my masterworking hits on my Raven's active size on my gloves. You can even get more hits of those on your necklace as well. If you're, say, doing like hordes or something, that will help a lot, because it'll be a bigger radius for your Raven's active. But that is the entirety of this speed farming version of the Ravens Druid build for Season 10. This build is one of the strongest builds in the season, and with this setup, it makes it an ungodly fast speed farming build. If it's not the fastest speed farming build in the season, it's right up there. Just because of how your Raven's active ability works, you can do it while moving, and because it does so much damage in one cast of it, you can just kill everything as you're moving around. With some of our movement speed things, having teleport, which usually makes like sorcerers just much faster through our runes, allows us to just do crazy fast things. Like I mentioned, you can farm 100 pit runs in like a minute really consistently. So this build is just crazy for speed farming, but that's all I want to go over. So thanks for watching.